In a foreign land, the story unfolds with two police officers, Roland and Johnnie. They vigilantly observe a criminal gang engaged in unlawful activities. As they moved in to apprehend the criminals, a fierce confrontation erupted, escalating into a gun battle. After subduing the wrongdoers, Johnnie stumbled upon a substantial sum of illicit money, sending a shiver down his spine. Suggesting they take the cash and keep it secret, he tested Roland's integrity. However, Roland, committed to his duty, declined. In a shocking twist, Johnnie betrays everyone by eliminating Roland, making it seem like the gang's doing. Previously, he summoned police backup, blaming the gang for Roland's demise. 30 minutes later, additional officers arrived to assist. Johnnie, before the chief cop, feigned remorse for failing to safeguard Roland. The chief consoled Johnnie, revealing Roland's survival upon their speedy transport to the hospital. Johnnie was stunned and anxious, as Roland held incriminating knowledge. Meanwhile, Roland was under intensive care, having teetered on the brink of death but displaying resilience. The following day, Johnnie visited the hospital, harboring intentions to eliminate Roland before he could divulge Johnnie's misdeeds to the police. Upon Johnnie's arrival at Roland's room, a nurse administered medication, prompting Johnnie to conceal himself until her departure. Roland, perceptive, discerned Johnnie's sinister intent. Earlier, their superior, Regina, had visited. While she conversed with the nurse, Roland cunningly secreted her firearm in his bag. Regina left when the nurse recommended 2 days of rest for Roland. After her departure, she realized her missing firearm might have ended up in Roland's room. Meanwhile, Johnnie ventured into Roland's chamber, poised to inflict harm. Roland, feigning slumber, abruptly fired at Johnnie. Regina entered, witnessing the scene, and Roland promised an explanation later. Weeks later, Regina paid a visit to Roland's residence, where she learned his incomplete recovery had curtailed his work capacity. The case involving Johnnie was resolved as the police uncovered his theft from the gang and his plot to eliminate Roland. Shortly after Regina's explanation that headquarters planned to retire Roland due to concerns about his declining abilities and aging, he reluctantly accepted the decision. In the following months, Roland's well-being enhanced, but his newfound free time left him feeling profoundly bored. He passed the time tinkering with his collection of weapons, haunted by the tragic loss of his wife and children in a car accident. Then, a turning point occurred when Connor and his daughter Nikita stepped into Roland's world. They were at a boxing event where Nikita's partner Mason triumphed, and they joined in celebrating his win at a post-match party. Departing, Nikita was closely guarded by a group of security personnel. In a chilling twist, as they reached the parking area, an unexpected gang of abductors launched an assault on the security detail, intent on seizing Nikita. Amid the chaos, Mason surprisingly deserted her, fleeing the ongoing skirmish. The kidnappers attempted to capture her, but she valiantly resisted and ultimately eluded their grasp, making her escape. The following day, Nikita's father, Connor, contacted his close associate Roland in a remote town. Connor, succinct and straightforward, invited Roland to come over, and Roland promptly accepted, considering their prolonged time apart. Upon Rawlings' arrival, a chauffeur, dispatched by Connor, stood prepared to transport him directly to Connor's residence. During the journey, the chauffeur observed bullies harassing his younger sibling. Incensed, he intervened, prompting the bullies to attack. Roland, unwilling to stand idle, leaped in to assist. Upon reaching Connor's abode, a jubilant Connor welcomed his friend. After discussing recent events, Roland inquired about the reason for his journey. Connor revealed that his daughter Nikita had nearly been abducted, suspecting involvement from his business adversary's hired goons. As a wealthy figure in the oil industry, he suspected his business rival's involvement in dubious activities. Fearing this, Connor sought top-tier bodyguards. Recognizing Roland's exceptional skills and his unemployment, Roland eagerly accepted the offer. Once in agreement, Connor promptly introduced Roland to Nikita, who remembered him from their past encounters. Mason, Connor's friend, had also reconciled with Nikita. The following day, Roland assumed the role of Nikita's protector, equipping her with a tracking necklace and amassing essential gear and security cameras for enhanced protection at Connor's residence. One evening, Roland joined Nikita, Mason, and their friends at a nightclub, where they encountered Frost, the leader of a prominent mafia group. Roland observed Mason receiving a message from Cross and moving to another room. It transpired that Mason collaborated closely with Cross as his trusted aide. However, Mason's interest in Nikita was solely for his advantage. When a situation escalated with one of Nikita's friends and a guy, Roland intervened to protect her. Despite the guy's offensive words, Roland didn't tolerate it, and a confrontation ensued. Afterward, Roland escorted Nikita away, but Mason, displeased, arrived since the men involved were his associates. Fortunately, Nikita supported Roland. The following day, Roland reconnected with Simon, a former comrade from their past as detectives. Roland's interest was piqued by the enigmatic figure known as Cross, a prominent leader in the underworld with Mason as his protege. Simon divulged that Cross had a notorious reputation in the criminal domain, linked to activities such as contraband trafficking, illicit brawls, and abductions. The FBI had long been monitoring him but lacked concrete evidence. Simon also revealed a deep-seated rivalry between the Cross family and Connor, stemming from a land dispute. Suspecting Cross's ulterior motives against Nikita, Simon proposed a partnership with Roland. Meanwhile, Nikita had formed an affinity for Roland's approach, finding him dependable and admirable. She even confided that she experienced a greater sense of safety in his presence compared to being around Mason, despite Mason's pugilistic prowess. In the afternoon, Nikita visited Roland's residence, seeking a conversation about her fond memories with Roland's late child, who had been her childhood companion. They shared their mutual grief for their lost loved ones, with Roland emphasizing his commitment to progressing without dwelling on regrets. During their discussion, Nikita conveyed her deep trust in Roland's protective presence. Later in the evening, Nikita returned to the nightclub, minus Mason and his associates. Roland discreetly observed her, and as the night wore on, Nikita became increasingly inebriated from the drinks. In her somewhat intoxicated state, she candidly admitted feeling liberated in Roland's company. She even unintentionally confessed to a growing attraction to him, to which he responded with a concealed reciprocation of his feelings. Unbeknownst to them, Mason watched their interaction from his car, visibly irritated, as Nikita moved nearer to Roland. Concerned about Nikita's safety, Roland covertly followed Mason, who rendezvoused with Cross and his top associate. Cross assigned Mason the job of luring Nikita to an undisclosed location for a potential abduction, stressing her solitary journey and Roland's obliviousness. From a distance, Roland monitored their meeting, unable to eavesdrop. After their conversation, Mason promptly proceeded to Nikita's residence. Once there, he urged Nikita to join him, claiming that Roland was absent. En route, Nikita inquired about the sudden invitation, taking into account her alleged association with Roland. Mason clarified his desire for uninterrupted time with her. Unbeknownst to them, Roland shadowed their every move, maintaining visual contact with Mason's vehicle. As the situation evolved, Mason's car was intercepted by a group of Cross's associates, indicating Cross's sinister intentions to abduct Nikita. Roland, alerted to this nefarious plot, sprang into action, engaging in a firefight with Cross's henchmen. Unfortunately, two of them managed to snatch Nikita and escape, leaving chaos in their wake. Amid the commotion, they accidentally tore off Nikita's necklace, containing a GPS, and discarded it, compounding the ordeal. The police arrived and apprehended Roland, who found himself in a precarious situation. He was on the verge of being transported to the police precinct, where Simon, a close friend of Roland and a detective, conducted the interrogation. Roland then divulged that he urgently needed to escape, because Nikita had been kidnapped by Cross's henchmen. After some negotiation, Simon granted Roland some leniency and released him. In the meantime, Connor received a call from Cross, who confessed that he held Nikita captive. To secure his daughter's safe return, Cross demanded a hefty sum of $5 million in cash and also sought Connor's property deed, which contained valuable resources like oil and uranium. Cross argued that the land, once owned by Connor's father, should have rightfully belonged to him, and this dispute had transformed Connor into a wealthy figure with wealth that could benefit many future generations. Shortly thereafter, Simon visited Connor, eager to aid in locating Nikita. However, Cross's intimidations had left Connor fearful and uncommunicative. Simon also inquired about Roland's whereabouts, but Connor lacked information, as Roland had not yet made an appearance. Meanwhile, Roland sought out the chauffeur who had been with his sister previously. He inquired whether the chauffeur had ever transported Nikita to Mason's place, and the chauffeur affirmed this, offering to accompany him there. Subsequently, Roland and the chauffeur arrived at Mason's place, where he confronted Mason's associates, who were secretly affiliated with Cross. After some persuasion, Roland coerced Mason into revealing Nikita's location. Mason threatened to reveal crucial information about Nikita's whereabouts if Roland vowed not to harm him. Roland, in desperation, agreed to the condition and finally obtained the location details of Nikita's home. Roland then rendezvoused with Connor, divulging his knowledge about Nikita's location. However, Connor, deeply concerned for Nikita's safety, urged caution and discouraged hasty actions. He was willing to comply with Cross's demands as long as it ensured Nikita's safety. Connor was resolute in his decision, planning to meet Cross's demands without involving others, fearing any additional involvement might endanger Nikita's life. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Mason remained complicit, keeping her captive without her knowledge. Unbeknownst to her, Cross and his gang were rushing to their meeting point, as Connor, possibly waiting for them. Time was running out, and the tension escalated as the events unfolded. In a nutshell, Connor rendezvous with Cross and his gang, handing over the requested suitcase. Cross instructs Mason to inspect it, but unexpectedly Roland appears on the scene. With swift action, Roland eliminates the sharpshooters Cross had for safeguarding. Once the contents of the suitcase receive approval, Cross commands his team, comprising the sharpshooters, to eradicate Connor. At this pivotal moment, Connor traps Cross. Just as it seems that Connor is close to defeating Cross, Simon, along with the police, intervenes, putting a halt to the unfolding confrontation. In the interim, Roland sets out on a quest to liberate Nikita, who is currently en route to Cross's central hub under the supervision of his chief confidant. A solo showdown unfolds between Roland and Cross's trusted lieutenant, revealing Roland's clear advantage. In the end, Roland successfully liberates Nikita from her predicament. Simultaneously, Simon, who had been monitoring Cross for a while, apprehends him shortly after Roland subtly alerts him, resulting in Simon's prompt appearance at the location.